The stars looked beautiful from New Horizon. Sarah Okonkwo thought this every morning when she walked to her mining ship. The colony world had 3 moons, and they painted the sky in shades of purple and gold during sunrise. 2 million people called this place home now. Children played in the streets. Farmers grew crops in the red soil. It was peaceful. Sarah was a cargo pilot. She flew between New Horizon and the asteroid belt, bringing back minerals. It was boring work, but honest work. Today felt like any other day. She grabbed her coffee, kissed her wife goodbye, and headed to the spaceport. Her ship, the Prospector's Dream, was old but reliable. Sarah ran through the pre-flight checks while humming an old Earth song. The cargo hold was empty. She would fill it with platinum and rare metals from the belt. The computer showed green lights across the board. Everything was ready. "Control, this is Prospector's Dream requesting clearance for departure," Sarah said into her comm. "Clearance granted. Dream. Safe flying," the controller replied. Sarah lifted off and aimed for the stars. New Horizon grew smaller behind her. She activated the autopilot and settled in for the 3-hour flight to the mining belt. Maybe she would finish that book she had been reading. Then the alarm screamed. Sarah's screen exploded with red warnings. Ships. Hundreds of ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel above New Horizon. Big ships, warships. Sarah had never seen designs like these. They were not human. "Control, what the hell is that?" Sarah shouted into the comm. Static. Then a voice panicked. "Unknown vessels. They're not responding to hails. They're powering weapons." Sarah's blood turned to ice. She spun her ship around. The alien fleet hung in orbit like dark angels. They were beautiful in a terrible way. Sleek hulls covered in strange symbols. Weapons ports glowing with purple light. A transmission cut through all frequencies. Sarah's computer translated it automatically. "Primitive humans of this world. You have been judged by the Genkar Collective. Your species lacks the strength to stand among the stars. You will surrender immediately. You will serve. Resistance is pointless." "Like hell," Sarah heard the colony governor say over the open channel. "This is Governor Martinez. We are a peaceful colony. We have no military. We mean you no harm. Please, we can talk about this." The alien voice laughed. It was a cold sound. "You misunderstand, Primitive. We are not here to talk. We are here to demonstrate the price of weakness. Your world will serve as a lesson to others who might think themselves worthy of the void." "Please," Martinez begged. "We have children here, families. We'll give you whatever you want. You have nothing we want except your obedience. But you will not have the chance to give it. This broadcast is being sent across our empire. Trillions are watching. They will see what happens to those who refuse Genkar dominance." Sarah watched in horror as the alien ships opened fire. The beams were purple, bright enough to hurt her eyes even from this distance. They struck New Horizon's surface like the hammers of gods. The atmosphere began to glow. Sarah's sensors screamed warnings about thermal bloom, radiation spikes, atmospheric ignition. They were burning the entire planet. "No," Sarah whispered. "No, no, no." The comm channels filled with screams. People begging. Children crying. Then the sounds began to cut off one by one as entire cities vanished in nuclear fire. Sarah's sensors showed the temperature rising across the planet's surface. 1,000 degrees. 2,000. 5,000. The oceans began to boil. Sarah's hands shook so badly she could barely hold the control stick. Her wife was down there. Her friends, her home. 2 million people. The alien ships fired for 30 minutes. When they stopped, New Horizon glowed like a small sun. Nothing could survive that heat. Nothing. The alien voice came back on. "Let this be known across the stars. The Genkar Collective does not tolerate weakness. We do not negotiate with primitives. Obey or die. There is no third option." The fleet turned and jumped away. They left as suddenly as they had arrived. Sarah sat alone in her small ship, staring at the burning corpse of her world. Her mind could not process what she had just seen. It was too big. Too horrible. Her computer beeped. A message. Priority 1. Report to Earth immediately. All ships in the sector were being recalled. Sarah activated her faster-than-light drive with numb fingers. The stars stretched. New Horizon disappeared behind her. The flight to Earth took 4 days. Sarah did not eat. She barely slept. She watched the footage her ship had recorded over and over. The aliens had broadcast their attack like it was entertainment. Sport. They had laughed while murdering millions. Earth looked the same as always when she arrived. Blue and green and beautiful. But Sarah felt different. The whole universe felt different now. Humanity was not alone, and their neighbors were monsters. Admiral Keiko Tanaka met Sarah at the military spaceport. The admiral was a small woman with steel in her eyes. She had commanded the United Defense Fleet for 15 years. Sarah had never met her before. "Captain Okonkwo," Tanaka said quietly, "I need you to show me everything your ship recorded." They watched it together in a dark room. Sarah had seen it 100 times already, but watching it with another person made it real in a way it had not been before. When the footage ended, Tanaka sat in silence for a long time. "How many?" Tanaka finally asked. 2.3 million, Sarah said. Her voice sounded dead even to herself. "Gone in 40 minutes. They broadcast it. Entertainment for their empire." Tanaka's jaw tightened. "Your ship's sensors picked up their communication frequencies. Our intelligence people have been analyzing their broadcasts. The Genkar Collective spans 47 star systems. They have destroyed 12 other species in the past 400 years. Always the same pattern. Overwhelming force. Total destruction. Then they move in and take whatever they want." "Why?" Sarah asked. "Why do this?" "Because they can," Tanaka said. "Because they think strength is the only thing that matters. Because they looked at us and saw weakness." Sarah felt something cold settle in her chest. It was not fear. It was something else. Something harder. "What happens now?" she asked. Tanaka stood up. Her face was carved from stone. "Now you rest, Captain. Tomorrow you will testify before the UN Security Council. They need to hear your story. They need to see what you saw, and then humanity decides what kind of species we are. The kind that accepts this, or the kind that makes them regret they ever found us." Sarah testified the next day. She showed them the footage. She told them about the screams, about watching her world die. The council chamber was silent when she finished. Then the vote came. It was unanimous. Every nation, every representative. The vote was for war. Total war. Dr. Marcus Chen watched the vote from his laboratory. His daughter had lived on New Horizon. She was studying to be a teacher. She was 23 years old. She was dead now. Marcus was humanity's leading weapons physicist. He had spent his career trying to make humanity safer. Now he would spend it making their enemies regret they existed. Admiral Tanaka stood before the assembled fleet commanders that night. 5,000 officers from every nation on Earth. They all wanted the same thing: justice, vengeance, fire. "The Genkar made a mistake," Tanaka said. Her voice carried across the silent hall. "They judged us by our technology, by our lack of weapons, by our peace. They thought we were weak. They thought we would surrender like the others. They were wrong." She paused. Every eye was on her. "We are not weak. We are patient. We wanted peace. We reached for the stars with open hands. They have shown us that open hands are not enough. So we will teach them what happens when humanity makes fists. We will bring fire to their worlds. We will show them that mercy is not weakness. It is a choice. A choice they have stripped from us." The officers stood as one. No cheers, no shouts. Just cold, quiet determination. Humanity was going to war, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. 6 months passed like a storm across Earth. Every factory retooled. Every shipyard worked around the clock. Every resource pointed toward one goal: war. Dr. Marcus Chen had not slept properly in weeks. His laboratory had become his home. The walls were covered with equations and designs. Coffee cups littered every surface. His team worked alongside him, equally driven. They were building weapons that had only existed in theory before. Now theory was becoming reality. "The plasma lance is ready for testing," said Dr. Sarah Kim, his chief engineer. She looked as tired as Marcus felt. "We can run trials tomorrow." Marcus nodded. The plasma lance used magnetic fields to contain and direct superheated matter at near light speed. It would cut through alien shields like a knife through paper. At least that was the plan. "What about the antimatter torpedoes?" Marcus asked. "Stable. We solved the containment problem last week. Each torpedo carries enough antimatter to destroy a ship the size of a city." Marcus thought about his daughter, about her smile, about teaching her to ride a bicycle when she was 6, about watching her graduate, about the last message she had sent him from New Horizon, talking about her students and how much she loved them. "Good," he said quietly. "Make 1,000 of them." Across the solar system, shipyards worked without rest. The United Defense Fleet was growing. Before the attack, humanity had 50 warships. They were designed for patrol and rescue, for protecting colonies from asteroids and pirates. They were not designed for war. Admiral Tanaka stood in the main shipyard above Mars and watched the construction. New ships took shape every day. Real warships. Heavy cruisers bristling with weapons, fast destroyers built for hit-and-run attacks, massive dreadnoughts that could take punishment and keep fighting. 300 ships, said Commander James Rodriguez, her second in command. Ready in 2 months. Another 500 under construction. It is not enough, Tanaka said. It is what we have, Admiral. Tanaka knew he was right. The Zenkar had thousands of ships. But quantity was not everything. The aliens thought they knew how war worked. They had rules, traditions, honor codes that governed how battles were fought. Humanity had no such restrictions. Humanity was going to fight to win. Have you selected the strike team leaders? Tanaka asked. Yes, ma'am. Captain Okonkwo volunteered to lead the first assault group. Tanaka turned to look at him. She barely survived watching her world die. Is she ready? She says the only way forward is through. I believe her. Tanaka remembered her own loss. Her son had been serving on a research station in the outer colonies. The Zenkar had destroyed it too, though it had not made the news. They had killed thousands of humans across multiple colonies. New Horizon was just the largest massacre. Approve her request, Tanaka said, but make sure she has the best pilots. I want her to come back alive. Sarah Okonkwo stood in the flight simulator, running combat drills for the 8th hour straight. Her squadron flew around her in virtual space. They practiced attack patterns, evasive maneuvers, and emergency protocols. The simulator created Zenkar ships based on the data from New Horizon. Sarah destroyed each one without mercy. Good run, said Lieutenant Park, her wingman. But you are pushing too hard, Captain. You need rest. I will rest when they are dead, Sarah said. She knew Park was right. The anger inside her was like a fire. It burned away everything else, sleep, food, peace. There was only the mission, only the need to make them pay. But she could not stop. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw New Horizon burning. At the United Nations headquarters in Geneva, intelligence officers presented their findings. They had been monitoring Zenkar communications for months. The aliens were not subtle. They broadcast everything openly, confident that no one could threaten them. The Zenkar Collective is ruled by a military caste, explained Director Liu of Intelligence. Their society values strength above all else. They see war as a sport, a way to prove superiority. They have rules about how wars should be fought, formal challenges, honor duels, codes of conduct. They murdered 2 million civilians, said the Brazilian representative. Where was their honor then? They do not consider us worthy of honor, Liu said. To them we are primitives, insects, the rules do not apply. The council chamber was silent. Then the Chinese ambassador spoke. Then we will not follow their rules either. Let them learn that insects can bite. Agreement rippled through the room. Humanity would not fight a gentleman's war. There would be no rules. No mercy, no quarter given. The Zenkar wanted to show the galaxy that strength mattered. Humanity would teach them a different lesson. In his laboratory, Marcus Chen activated his latest creation. The quantum disruptor scrambled the molecular bonds of whatever it touched. Ships, shields, flesh. Everything came apart at the atomic level. He watched the test on a small asteroid. The rock simply stopped existing. My God, whispered Dr. Kim. Marcus, this is terrifying. Good, Marcus said. They should be terrified. He thought about developing something even worse. Something that could ignite a planet's atmosphere, turn an entire world into a fireball. He had the theory worked out already. It would just take time to build. Time and resources. And the will to use it. Did he have that will? Could he condemn billions to the same fate as his daughter? Marcus did not know. But he would have the weapon ready. Just in case. Admiral Tanaka called a meeting of the fleet commanders. They gathered in a secure room deep beneath the Pacific. 300 officers representing 300 ships. Each one had trained for this moment. Each one knew the stakes. The Zenkar Collective has 47 systems, Tanaka said. Thousands of ships. Trillions of citizens. They are stronger than us in every measurable way. We should lose this war. She paused and looked at each face. But we will not lose. Do you know why? Because they think they know what humanity is. They think we are weak. They think we will fight by their rules. They think we will give up when the cost becomes too high. They are wrong about all of it. Tanaka activated a hologram. It showed the Genkar border systems, 12 worlds with military stations and defense fleets. We will not challenge them to honorable combat. We will not announce our intentions. We will strike without warning. We will hit them where it hurts. We will make them afraid, and we will not stop until they surrender, or until there is nothing left of their empire. What about the other species in the galaxy? Asked Commander Rodriguez. The Galactic Council. What will they think? Let them think what they want, Tanaka said coldly. The Genkar destroyed 12 species before us. Where was the council then? Where was the justice? We are alone in this. So we will do what we must. Captain Okonkwo stood up. When do we leave, Admiral? 2 weeks. Your strike group will hit the border outpost at Genkar Station 7. Show them what happens when you awaken humanity's rage. The meeting ended. Officers filed out in silence. Each one knew that some of them would not come back. But that did not matter. What mattered was making the aliens regret they ever found Earth. Sarah returned to her quarters and finally allowed herself to feel. She sat on her bed and cried for the first time since the attack. She cried for her wife, for her friends, for the children who never had a chance. She cried until there were no tears left. Then she stood up, washed her face, and returned to training. The fire inside her was still there. But now it was controlled, focused. She would channel it into something useful, something deadly. In orbit above Earth, the first dreadnought completed its trials. The UDS Retribution was 3 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to level a continent. Admiral Tanaka stood on its bridge and felt something dark settle in her chest. This ship was built for one purpose, destruction. All systems green, Admiral, reported the captain. She is ready for war. Tanaka nodded. Around Earth, 300 ships prepared to depart. 50,000 crew members said goodbye to their families. Engineers performed final checks. Weapons were loaded. Fuel tanks filled. Dr. Chen delivered the last of his weapons personally. Plasma lances, quantum disruptors, antimatter torpedoes, each one more terrible than the last. He watched the weapons being loaded onto the Retribution and felt no guilt. Only cold purpose. The night before the fleet departed, Admiral Tanaka broadcast a message to every ship. Tomorrow we leave for Genkar space. We go to war against an enemy that thinks us weak, an enemy that murdered our people without warning, an enemy that laughs at our pain. They made a mistake. They woke something that should have remained asleep. Humanity spent centuries fighting ourselves, learning war, perfecting it. Then we stopped. We reached for peace, for the stars. We thought our days of war were over. They showed us we were wrong. So now we will show them what humanity learned in all those centuries of blood. We will show them that mercy is not weakness. It is a choice. And they took that choice away from us. Now we bring fire to the stars. Now we bring rage. Now we bring war. And God help anyone who stands in our way. The fleet departed at dawn. 300 ships. 50,000 crew. One purpose. They left Earth behind and jumped into faster-than-light travel. The journey to Genkar space would take 3 weeks. When they arrived, the galaxy would learn a new truth. Never wake a sleeping predator. The human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Genkar border system. Station 7 hung in space ahead of them. A massive military outpost built into an asteroid. 50,000 Genkar soldiers lived and trained there. It was one of 12 defensive positions protecting the collective's territory. Admiral Tanaka stood on the bridge of the Retribution and studied the tactical display. The station's defenses were impressive. Energy shields, point defense turrets, a fleet of 30 warships on patrol. The Genkar expected any attack to be announced. They expected challenges and formal battle protocols. They expected honor. They would not get it. All ships battle stations, Tanaka ordered. Her voice was calm, cold. Weapons free, no warnings. Hit them with everything. The human fleet opened fire without announcing their presence. 300 ships unleashed hell. Plasma lances cut through space in brilliant blue streams. The Genkar shields lit up, struggling to absorb the energy. Then they failed. The quantum disruptors hit next. Genkar ships simply came apart, their hulls dissolving at the molecular level. Antimatter torpedoes followed, each one a tiny sun of destruction. When they struck, the enemy vessels vanished in bursts of white light. The Genkar scrambled to respond. Their commanders shouted in confusion on the open channels. This was not how wars were fought. Where was the challenge? Where was the declaration? Where was the honor? "Return fire!" screamed the Genkar station commander. "All ships engage." But the human attack was too fast, too coordinated, too ruthless. Captain Okonkwo's strike squadron swept through the defending fleet like wolves through sheep. Her pilots moved with perfect precision. They targeted engines and weapon systems. No wasted shots. No mercy. "Target their communications array," Okonkwo ordered. "I want them isolated." Lieutenant Park's ship dove toward the station, dodging defensive fire. He launched a spread of missiles that struck the massive antenna array. Metal and electronics exploded outward in a silent bloom. The station went dark. "They cannot call for help now," Park reported. Good, Okonkwo thought. She wanted the Genkar to die knowing they were alone. Like New Horizon had been alone. The battle lasted 47 minutes. When it ended, Station 7 was a broken wreck. The defending fleet was destroyed. 50,000 Genkar soldiers were dead. Not one human ship was lost. Admiral Tanaka broadcast a message on all Genkar frequencies. She wanted their empire to hear this. "This is Admiral Keiko Tanaka of the United Earth Defense Fleet. Station 7 is destroyed. Your people are dead. This is payment for New Horizon. But it is only the beginning. We will not negotiate. We will not show mercy. We will bring fire to every one of your worlds until you understand the price of your actions. You wanted to teach us about strength. Consider this your first lesson." The human fleet jumped away before reinforcements could arrive. They left the wreckage behind as a message. Humanity was coming. Across the Genkar collective, panic spread. The Station 7 massacre played on every news channel. The footage showed human ships appearing without warning and destroying everything in minutes. No challenges, no honor. No survivors. War Master Kreltok, Supreme Commander of the Genkar military, watched the footage with growing dread. He was a massive creature, nearly 3 meters tall, covered in armor-like scales. He had commanded fleets for 40 years. He had never lost a battle. He had never even felt doubt. Now he felt something cold in his chest. Fear. "Explain this," Kreltok demanded of his officers. "How did humans destroy Station 7 so quickly?" "Their weapons, War Master," said an intelligence officer. "We have never seen technology like this. Their plasma lances cut through our shields. Their torpedoes use antimatter. And they have something else. Something that disintegrates matter itself. Impossible. Humans are primitives. They only achieved faster than light travel 5 years ago. Yet they have destroyed an entire border station in less than an hour," the officer said quietly. "And they did it without following any protocols. No challenge was issued. No warning given. They struck like assassins, not warriors." Kreltok slammed his fist on the table. "Then we will show them how real warriors fight. Mobilize the 3rd Fleet, 60 ships. Find these humans and destroy them according to proper combat protocols. Show them that the Genkar do not fear primitives with stolen technology." The 3rd Fleet was the pride of the collective. 60 of the most advanced warships in Genkar space. They deployed to hunt the human invaders. Their commander, Fleet Lord Vexthor, was confident. Humans might have destroyed a border station, but they would fall to a proper battle fleet. The humans were waiting. Admiral Tanaka had predicted the Genkar response. Send a large fleet, make it a formal battle. Prove their superiority. She had chosen the perfect ambush point. A nebula near the 2nd border system. The gas clouds would hide her ships until it was too late. The 3rd Fleet entered the nebula, scanning for human signals. They found nothing. Then Captain Okonkwo's strike force emerged from behind them. 20 small, fast ships. They struck the rear of the Genkar formation before the aliens even knew they were there. "Break and scatter," Vexthor ordered. "Reform defensive positions." But the Genkar fleet was too large to maneuver quickly. As they tried to turn, the rest of the human fleet emerged from the nebula ahead. 300 ships, all weapons charged, all targeting systems locked. They were surrounded. The battle was a slaughter. Human ships moved in coordinated wolf packs. They targeted specific ships, overwhelmed their defenses, and moved to the next target. The Genkar tried to fight with honor. They issued challenges. They called for individual duels. They expected the humans to respond with similar formality. Instead, 3 ships would hit one target simultaneously. While Genkar commanders were still broadcasting their challenges, human weapons were already tearing their ships apart. Dr. Chen watched the battle through video feeds from the Retribution. Each time a Genkar ship died, he thought about his daughter, about the moment she died, about whether it had been fast or slow, about whether she had been scared. Target the flagship, Chen said into his comm. He was officially just an observer, but Admiral Tanaka had given him clearance to make suggestions. Use the Hellstorm prototype. The Hellstorm was Chen's newest creation. It had not been tested in combat yet, but theory said it would work. Theory said it would be devastating. Authorization confirmed, came the response. Firing Hellstorm. The weapon did not look like much. A small missile. It struck Vexthor's flagship and seemed to do nothing. Then the ship's atmosphere began to ignite. Fire spread across the hull, consuming oxygen. The flames could not be stopped. They burned hotter and hotter until the entire ship was an inferno. Vexthor and his crew of 5,000 burned alive. The remaining Genkar ships fled. Only 12 of the 60 survived. They jumped away in panic, leaving their destroyed fleet behind. The humans did not pursue. They did not need to. Let them run, Tanaka said. Let them tell their people what happened here. Let them spread the fear. Sarah Okonkwo landed her ship in the Retribution's hangar. Her hands were steady now. The shaking from New Horizon was gone. There was only cold focus. She had killed 17 Genkar ships today. Personally, her squadron had destroyed 34 more. How do you feel? Lieutenant Park asked when they met in the ready room. Empty, Sarah said honestly, but we are not done. There are still more systems, more stations, more of them alive. 2 days later, a Genkar diplomatic ship arrived in the human fleet's patrol zone. It broadcast on all frequencies. A white flag. A request for negotiation. The ship carried Ambassador Relmach, one of the collective's senior diplomats. The humans allowed the ship to approach. Relmach was brought aboard the Retribution under guard. He was a tall, elegant creature with smooth skin and large eyes. He looked at the human soldiers with something like pity. Admiral Tanaka, Relmach said through a translator, I come with authority to discuss terms of peace. The collective recognizes that mistakes were made at New Horizon. We are prepared to offer compensation and discuss boundaries for our respective territories. Tanaka looked at him for a long moment. Then she laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Mistakes? She repeated. You murdered 2 million people. You broadcast it as entertainment. You told the galaxy that humans were weak, that we deserved to die, and now you call it a mistake? War Master Kreltalk acted rashly, Relmach said. The Council has censured him. We wish to avoid further conflict. You want to avoid conflict, Tanaka said softly. Where was this desire for peace when you were burning my people alive? Where was this wisdom when you destroyed 12 other species? Relmach shifted uncomfortably. Those situations were different. Those species resisted the natural order. The natural order, Tanaka repeated. You believe strength gives you the right to destroy others. It is the way of the galaxy. Then watch how we respond to this natural order of yours. Tanaka activated a screen. It showed footage of Station 7 burning, the Third Fleet destroyed, thousands of Genkar dead. Relmach's eyes widened. You fight without honor, he whispered. This is not how war is conducted. You mistook our desire for peace as weakness, Tanaka said. Each word was carved from ice. You murdered our children. You laughed at our pain. There will be no negotiation. There will be no peace, not until you understand what you have done. Not on the galaxy was watching now. Every species with the technology to monitor communications had seen the footage. Humanity's war against the Genkar collective was no longer a border skirmish. It was becoming something else, something that made the ancient species nervous. On the Galactic Council station orbiting the neutral world of Parlax Prime, delegates from 43 species gathered for an emergency session. The chamber was enormous, designed to accommodate beings of wildly different sizes and biologies. Some breathed oxygen. Others needed methane or pure nitrogen. Some did not breathe at all. High Counselor Thexvar of the Parlax Concordat called the session to order. The Parlax were an old species. They had survived 3 million years by being careful, by never making enemies, by watching and learning. The matter before us, Thexvar announced, is the human conflict with the Genkar collective. In the past year, humans have destroyed 8 Genkar systems. Over 100 million Genkar military personnel are dead. Entire fleets have been annihilated. The humans show no signs of stopping. The Genkar started this war. said Delegate Corvin of the Minoran Assembly. The Minorans were small, peaceful traders. They had watched the Genkar destroy other species for centuries and done nothing. They attacked a human colony without provocation. They murdered millions. And the humans have responded by killing 100 times more, argued Delegate Shix of the Chrythonian Empire. This is excessive. This is genocide. The humans are only targeting military installations, Corvin countered. They have not harmed civilian populations. Yet, Shix hissed. But they have shown no willingness to negotiate. No desire for peace. They fight like machines. Without emotion. Without mercy. Perhaps because the Genkar showed them no mercy first, Thexvar said quietly. We have all watched the footage from New Horizon. The Genkar burned an entire world. They broadcast it as entertainment. Where was this council then?
Where was our outrage?
The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew the truth. The Galactic Council had known about Genkar atrocities for centuries. But the collective was powerful. It was easier to look away, safer to pretend nothing was wrong. Now humanity was forcing them to look. The humans have requested permission to address this council, Thexvar said. I propose we hear them. We need to understand what they want, what will make them stop. The vote was close, but it passed. An invitation was sent to the human fleet. 3 days later, a single human ship arrived at Parlax Prime. Captain Sarah Okonkwo stepped off the transport. She stood before the Galactic Council wearing her military uniform. She was 32 years old and had personally destroyed over 100 enemy ships. She looked at the assembled delegates with eyes that had seen too much death. My name is Captain Sarah Okonkwo of the United Earth Defense Fleet, she said. Her voice was steady, strong. I am here to tell you what humanity learned. To tell you why we fight, she activated a holographic display. It showed New Horizon before the attack. Children playing. Cities thriving, life. This was my home, Sarah said. 2 million people lived here. It was not a military base. It was not a threat to anyone. It was just people trying to build a new life among the stars. The display changed. It showed the Genkar fleet arriving. The attack. The burning. The death. The Genkar destroyed my world in 40 minutes. They killed everyone I loved. They broadcast it as entertainment for their empire. They laughed at our deaths. Then they sent a message to humanity. They told us we were weak, that we did not deserve to live among the stars. That strength was the only thing that mattered. Sarah paused. The chamber was completely silent, so we showed them strength. We built weapons. We trained soldiers. We went to war. And now you call us excessive. You say we are going too far. You want us to show mercy. She looked directly at High Counselor Thexvar. Where were you when the Genkar destroyed 12 other species? Where was this council when they burned worlds and enslaved populations? Where was the mercy then? You did nothing. You watched and did nothing. Because it was easier. Safer. You let monsters grow strong because you were afraid to fight them. The humans are right. A new voice spoke up. It was Delegate Yixtal of the Minoran Remnant. The Minorans had been one of the species destroyed by the Genkar 300 years ago. Only a few thousand survived in exile. My ancestors begged this council for help. They pleaded for intervention. They offered to share technology, resources, anything. The council voted to remain neutral. We were destroyed. Our homeworld is now a Genkar mining colony. More voices joined in. Species that had been threatened by the Genkar. Species that had lost trade partners to Genkar conquest. Species that lived in fear of being next. Enough, Delegate Shix said. What do the humans want? What will make them stop this war? Sarah looked at the delegates. She thought about Admiral Tanaka, about Dr. Chen, about all the people working tirelessly for one purpose, justice. We want the Genkar to surrender unconditionally, Sarah said. We want War Master Krelltalk and his commanders tried for crimes against sapient species. We want reparations paid to the families of the dead. We want the Genkar military reduced to a defensive force. We want guarantees that this will never happen again, to us or to anyone. And if the Genkar refuse? Thexvar asked. Sarah's expression hardened. Then we will take their homeworld. We will make them understand that actions have consequences, that strength without wisdom is just brutality, that the weak are not always helpless. On Genkar Prime, the heart of the collective, War Master Krelltalk watched the transmission from the Galactic Council. He sat in his command chamber surrounded by his war chiefs, the mighty rulers of 47 star systems. They all looked worried now. The humans will not stop. said War Chief Dexnor. "They have destroyed 8 of our border systems. They are 3 systems away from the core worlds. Our fleets cannot stop them. Their weapons are too advanced. Their tactics too ruthless. We can still win," Kreltok insisted, but even he no longer sounded confident. "We have numbers. We have fortifications. We have the support of the civilian population." "Do we?" asked a younger voice. It was Sub-Commander Vexril, one of Kreltok's junior officers. He had been at Station 7. He had been one of the few survivors. "The civilian population is terrified. They have seen the footage. They know the humans are coming. They blame us for starting this war." "We did not start anything," Kreltok snapped. New Horizon was a demonstration of strength. The humans were meant to submit like the others, but they did not submit, Vexril said quietly. "They fought back. And now everything we built is falling apart. Because we underestimated them. Because we thought peace meant weakness." Kreltok wanted to punish the sub-commander for his insolence, but he could not. Because Vexril was right. The Genkar had misjudged humanity. They had awakened something terrible. Meanwhile, Dr. Marcus Chen stood in his laboratory staring at his final creation, the Hellstorm device, full-scale version. It was 3 meters tall and hummed with barely contained power. Chen had finished it 2 weeks ago. He had not told anyone yet. The device could ignite a planet's atmosphere, turn an entire world into a fireball. Billions would die in hours. It was the ultimate weapon, the ultimate deterrent, the ultimate revenge. Chen thought about activating it above Genkar Prime, about watching their homeworld burn the way New Horizon burned, about making them feel what he felt, what every human who lost someone felt. He could do it. The device was ready. The fleet would reach Genkar Prime in 3 weeks. He could load it onto a missile, fire it, end the war in one terrible stroke. But should he? His daughter would not want this. She had been a teacher. She believed in education, in understanding, in building rather than destroying. She would be horrified at what he had become, what he had built. Chen deactivated the device and sat down heavily. He was so tired. Tired of the anger. Tired of the grief. Tired of building weapons meant to kill. Admiral Tanaka entered the laboratory. She looked at the Hellstorm device and understood immediately what it was. "Can it work?" she asked. "Yes," Chen said. "It can burn their entire homeworld. Every city. Every person. All of them. Will you use it?" Chen looked at her. Really looked at her. He saw the same exhaustion in her eyes. The same doubt. The same question they were all asking now. How far was too far? "I do not know," Chen admitted. "We have destroyed 8 systems. Killed millions of their soldiers. Made them fear us. Is that enough? Or do we need to destroy everything they have? Everyone they are?" Tanaka sat down beside him. "The Genkar offered to surrender last week." "Did you hear?" "I heard. You refused." "I refused because their terms were insults. They offered to pay for New Horizon, as if credits could bring back the dead. They offered to promise not to attack human space again, as if we should trust their promises. They learned nothing." "What do you want, Keiko?" Chen asked. It was the first time he had used her first name. "What would make this worth it?" "I want them to understand," Tanaka said softly. "I want them to change. I want them to look at what they did and feel shame. I want them to never do this to anyone ever again. Can your weapon accomplish that?" "No," Chen said. "My weapon can only destroy. Understanding comes from something else." Captain Okonkwo or the human fleet hung in space above Genkar Prime like a dark promise. 300 warships, 50,000 crew, enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. The homeworld of the collective turned slowly beneath them, unaware of how close it came to annihilation. Admiral Keiko Tanaka stood alone in her quarters. The Hellstorm device was loaded onto a missile in the weapons bay. Dr. Chen had given her the activation codes. 1 command, 1 launch, 5 billion dead. The war would be over. She thought about New Horizon, about the 2 million people who died there, about the families destroyed, about the children who never grew up. Justice demanded payment. Justice demanded fire. But what did humanity demand? There was a knock on her door. Captain Sarah Okonkwo entered without waiting for permission. She looked different now. Harder, older. War did that to people. "The Genkar Supreme Council has requested to speak with you," Sarah said. "War Master Kreltok wants to negotiate." Now he wants to negotiate, Tanaka said bitterly. After we destroyed 8 systems, after we killed millions of his soldiers, now he is ready to talk. Yes. Tanaka looked out the viewport at Genkar Prime. What would you do, Sarah? If the choice was yours? Sarah was quiet for a long moment. 14 months ago, I would have said burn them all. Make them pay. But now, she shook her head. Now I am tired. Tired of killing. Tired of war. I want it to be over. I want to go home. We don't have a home, Tanaka said softly. New Horizon is gone. Then we build a new one. But we cannot build anything while we are still destroying. Tanaka nodded slowly. Tell Kreltok I will hear him. Bring him aboard. War Master Kreltok was a broken creature. The proud warrior who had ordered the destruction of New Horizon was gone. In his place stood someone who understood finally what it meant to lose. His scales were dull, his movement slow. He looked at Admiral Tanaka with something that might have been respect. Or fear. Or both. Admiral, Kreltok said through a translator, I come to offer the surrender of the Genkar Collective. Unconditional surrender. You have won, have I? Tanaka asked. What have I won? 8 destroyed systems. Millions dead. A galaxy that now fears humanity as much as it feared you. Tell me, War Master, what did either of us win? Kreltok had no answer. You started this war because you thought we were weak, Tanaka continued. You thought peace meant we could not fight. You were wrong. But now I understand something. Strength is not just the ability to destroy. Strength is also the ability to stop. To choose mercy when revenge is easier. That is the strength you never understood. What do you want from us? Kreltok asked quietly. I want justice. Real justice. Not revenge. Not more death. Justice, Tanaka laid out her terms. The Genkar military would be reduced to 10% of its current size. War Master Kreltok and his senior commanders would stand trial for crimes against sapient species. The collective would pay reparations to the families of those killed at New Horizon. They would pay reparations to the 12 other species they had destroyed, and they would help rebuild New Horizon as a joint colony. Humans and Genkar working together. As a memorial. As a promise, these terms are acceptable, Kreltok said. He sounded relieved. But the other species, the ones we destroyed, many are extinct. How can we pay reparations to the dead? The minor and remnant still exists, Tanaka said. The survivors of 3 other species still exist. You will help them rebuild their civilizations. You will give them worlds, resources, technology. You will spend the next 100 years undoing the damage you caused. And if my people refuse? If they fight? Tanaka activated a screen. It showed the Hellstorm device. Kreltok's eyes widened in horror. This weapon can ignite your atmosphere, Tanaka said calmly. It can turn your entire world into fire. We have it loaded and ready. I can activate it with a single command. Do you understand what this means? Yes, Kreltok whispered. I am not going to use it, Tanaka said. Not because you deserve mercy, but because we are not you. Because humanity chooses to be better. But this weapon will exist. It will be remembered. And if any species ever attacks humanity again, if anyone ever thinks we are weak because we choose peace, this is what they will remember. They will remember that we had the power to destroy you, and we chose not to. They will remember that mercy is not weakness. It is strength. The surrender was broadcast across the galaxy. The Genkar Collective admitted defeat. War Master Kreltok and 47 of his commanders were arrested and handed over to Galactic Council authorities. They would stand trial for their crimes. The news spread through the human fleet like wildfire. The war was over. They had won. But there was no celebration. Just exhaustion, relief, and the beginning of grief. Dr. Marcus Chen stood in his laboratory and deactivated the Hellstorm device for the last time. He would never build another. The weapon would be dismantled. The plans destroyed. Some technologies he understood now should never exist. Some lines should never be crossed. He thought about his daughter. About the teacher who believed in building rather than destroying. She would be proud that he stopped. Proud that he chose a different path. Chen left the laboratory and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity would build new worlds. Better worlds. Worlds where his daughter's legacy would live on. Captain Sarah Okonkwo stood at the observation deck of the Retribution. Lieutenant Park found her there, staring out at Genkar Prime. We are going home, Park said. Back to Earth. The war is over, is it? Sarah asked. The fighting is over, but the war, the real war, that is still going on inside us, inside everyone who saw what we saw, did what we did. What will you do now? Sarah thought about that. I am going to help rebuild New Horizon. I am going to work with the Genkar who volunteer to help. I am going to teach them about my wife, about the people who lived there, about what they destroyed. Maybe then they will understand. Maybe then it will mean something. That is very forgiving of you. No, Sarah said. It is not forgiveness. It is something else. It is refusing to let their hate destroy what is left of me. It is choosing to remember the good instead of just the pain. It is hard. It might be the hardest thing I have ever done, but I have to try. The Galactic Council held a special session to address humanity's place in the galaxy. 43 species voted. The result was unanimous. Humanity was offered a permanent seat on the council, a voice in galactic affairs, recognition as a major power. Admiral Tanaka accepted on behalf of Earth, but she had conditions. Humanity will join this council, she said, but we will not be silent. We will not look away when injustice happens. We will not let fear keep us from acting. The Genkar destroyed 12 species while you watched. Never again. If we are to be part of this galaxy, then the galaxy must be better, all of us. High Counselor Thexfar bowed his head. The humans are correct. We have been passive for too long. We propose the creation of a joint defense force, multiple species working together, to protect those who cannot protect themselves, to ensure that what happened to New Horizon never happens again. The proposal passed. Species that had been enemies for centuries began talking about cooperation. Fear of human ruthlessness had done what diplomacy never could. It had united the galaxy. But as Subcommander Vexril later said to his students, it was not fear that changed us. It was shame. The humans showed us what we had become. Cowards who let evil flourish because we were comfortable. They forced us to be better. 10 years later, New Horizon was rebuilt. The new colony was different from the old one. Half the population was human. The other half was Genkar volunteers who wanted to understand what their people had done. They lived together, worked together, built together. In the center of the main city stood a memorial, a simple black wall with 2 million names carved into it. Every person who died in the original colony. Humans visited it to remember. Genkar visited it to understand. Dr. Chen came to the memorial every year on the anniversary of the attack. He would spend hours reading names, remembering faces. His daughter's name was there. Sarah Chen, teacher, age 23. Beloved by all who knew her. Other names surrounded hers. Children she had taught. Colleagues she had worked with. Friends she had loved. All gone, but not forgotten. Never forgotten. A young Genkar student approached Chen one day. Her name was Kixtal. She was studying to be a teacher like Sarah had been. Dr. Chen, she said nervously, I wanted to thank you for not using your weapon, for giving us a chance to be better. Chen looked at her. He saw fear in her eyes. Fear of rejection, of hatred, of the past. Your people killed my daughter, Chen said quietly. They took everything from me. I built weapons to destroy them. I wanted revenge. I wanted to hurt them the way they hurt me. Kixtal's eyes filled with tears. I am sorry. We are all sorry. I know, Chen said. But sorry is not enough. It will never be enough. Nothing can bring back the dead. Nothing can undo what was done, but you. You can do something different. You can teach your students about what happened. About the cost of thinking strength means you can hurt others. You can make sure this never happens again. That is how you honor the dead. That is how you make amends. I will, Kixtal promised. We all will. Chen nodded. He looked back at the memorial.